welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Burundi, we've got a couple of different pieces of news here today that we're going to be talking about. I don't know if you have anywhere to start. You specifically want to start, but if I'm not mistaken, this involves our first coach firing of the season.
It does. Yeah, it's it's only been a couple of days, but we've got lots of news that have happened. Yeah, and thankfully it was neither of our picks for the Jack Adams this year for Coach of the Year. So good
It's
on us
probably
for
a few
not.
people's.
He was one of the favorites going into the season. But for those who've been living under a rock, pretty much, the Boston Bruins fired head coach Jim Montgomery. Assistant coach Joe Sacco steps in as an interim head coach. I mean, what's going on over in Boston, right? The last two coaches the Bruins have fired before Montgomery, it was Bruce Cassidy, who had a record of 245 wins, 108 regulation losses, 46 overtime shootout losses. That is a .614 win percentage. And then Jim Montgomery with the Bruins had a record of 120 wins, 41 regulation losses, and 23 overtime shootout losses. That is a .715 points percentage and a .656 win percentage.
I mean,
I just don't get what's going on in Boston.
It's one of the easier things to get as far as elite players go, but it's also obviously one of the most important things. You need that bona fide number one center, and they don't got it. And
Nope.
they have a couple guys that could vie for a playoff contending team's second center position role, but they don't got that guy. They don't got that Braden Point, Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, etc. Most teams have that,
Yeah.
A lot of the teams trying to get over the hump, the thing they're looking for is that Cale Makar, that Victor Hedman, that big defenseman, or like a really solid goalie. Most teams that are contending have had that center for a long time. So I think that's a huge part of it. But on top of that, first of all, there's a lot of doom and gloom around this team. When this, obviously, Montgomery was fired after, I think it was a 5-1 loss against the Columbus Blue Jackets. After losing that game, they were still in a playoff spot.
Yeah.
They're not bottoming out. They're not they want to be doing better, obviously, but they were still in a wild card spot at that point. So I believe they are currently not in, but I believe they're tied with the Sabres in points, who are in. But yeah, I really do not think Montgomery is the guy who's at fault here, and you can tell that by the players' reactions. There was a lot of quotes going around. Pasternak was saying, we didn't play well enough and we lost a good coach because of it. Marchand had a very similar thing he was saying, and to top it all off, after this came out, Don Sweeney said that the Bruins were trying to extend Montgomery, couldn't agree on a number, and then the start of the season pushed it over and they ended up firing him, which is crazy that they were so ready to extend him.
That's just an awful excuse.
They're making it about money when, coaches, even the best coaches, do not make enough money for me to ever think this is worth it. It's very similar to when Barry Trotz didn't get brought back in Washington. And Washington was he was asking for crazy money. I think what was he asking for, $5 million a season? That's a middle six forward back then. It's for the best head coach in the game, it doesn't even count against the cap. Come on. Being a good team will sell way more tickets and everything than that's worth. So it's crazy that they didn't even make a trade or anything. They just went right to Montgomery because someone is getting a very good coach.
A very good coach.
And it's not going to take till the offseason.
I'm looking at Nashville already for a potential place for Montgomery. Here's the thing.
Interesting.
If they fired Montgomery and Uh, you go out and you grab a coach who's currently out there and available, sure. But the fact you fire Montgomery and you just promote the assistant coach, you just stick with an in-house guy, uh, makes absolutely no sense. Because this whoever Joe Sacco you're bringing, I don't know him personally. I don't know much about him. He's not going to be better than Jim Montgomery in terms of what can be produced. Like you look at the Bruins, um, this year, bad team. You look at them 2 years ago when they had that historic season. I'll be honest, not even a great team. Like you look at their team on paper that year compared to other
They,
teams around the league, the Bruins didn't have as good of a team on paper. It
no.
came a lot from the coaching. Like you go 65, 12 and 5.
Did you
And your
watch
third
many
highest.
games that season of the Bruins either?
Yeah. And here's the thing though. Pasternak had a great year. Marchand 67 points in 73 games. Pasternak was the only point per game player on the Bruins that year. Patrice Bergeron 58 points in 78 games. That was their third highest scoring player.
And that's how you know it comes from. Obviously, they got insane goaltending that year. It also comes from the coaching. When
Yeah,
Tampa,
it's the system they were running.
to of course make it about me again. When Tampa put up 62 wins in a season back in 18-19, all our best guys had career years. It
Yeah,
was
they had
not
a
by
juice
committee.
roster.
It was Vasilevsky was nuts. Kucherov put up 125 plus points. Everybody broke their career highs.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen with this Bruins team, save for maybe Pasternak. Like, it was their team throughout the entire lineup was so solid. They sucked to watch too.
Yeah.
And that's how you know they were a good team. Whenever Tampa would play them, I would be like, fuck, man, is this what it was like watching the Devils in the early 2000s? You couldn't take the zone. Every shot you got was a crappy perimeter shot. And if you finally got a good chance, now you got to deal with the guy who ended up winning the Vezina.
Yeah.
Which it really was mainly the coach, in my opinion. So it's too bad. And this is the second very high quality coach that the Bruins have fired in the past 5 years at this point. Bruce Cassidy being the other, obviously, who went to win a cup over in Vegas.
Yeah.
And yeah, if they don't pick it up real soon, I think general manager Don Sweeney has to be the guy that management looks at and says he's not making us better.
The Bruins are a failing organization if Sweeney is still in charge at the end of the season. Whether they make the playoffs or not, he has slowly driven this team into the ground. And how many coaches can he burn through? And it's not even like, it's just filler coach, like rebuilding teams. You're trying to win a cup. You're trying to contend. These are cup winning coaches. These are some of the best coaches in the league, and you're just burning through them. Eventually, you got to take some accountability. Like we talked about how they needed a first line center. I like Elias Lindholm. He is not a first line center. That was fully proven in Calgary after what happened there. He goes to Vancouver, really struggled to figure it out. Even playing with elite talent, it wasn't working. He proved he wasn't a first line center, but the Bruins are like, whatever. He's the next Patrice Bergeron. So they go out and, in my opinion, I think slightly overpay for Lindholm. On defense,
and especially on a cup winning team, he's not going to be the first center. That is just not happening.
And then on defense, you don't need Zadorov. Sure, he's fun. He's a good player. You don't need him. Again, you overpay for him when you could have gone out and you could have got an actual defenseman who can quarterback your power play. I like McAvoy. No, if he's the guy on the point, your first line power play, that's not great. You could have gone out and you could have tried to get a Montour, or you could have even made a trade, because the Bruins are. It's not, under Don Sweeney, they might be the worst team in the NHL when it comes to drafting.
It's been
they are not drafting young players that are coming up and being being forces for him. Sweeney was hired in 2015 after the season. So he made those moves to get those 3 first-round picks in a row, 13, 14, 15, in a very, 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 very stacked 2015 draft.
Simply the
13th
best draft class
overall.
we've seen.
It's definitely up there. 13th overall, defenseman Jacob Zaboral. Yeah, well, he's already out of the NHL and back over in Czechia. Jake DeBrusk. Well, he was a good player, but you let him walk for nothing. So,
Yeah.
And then Zach Senyshyn. He is, he's out now. He's over in Germany. He's been there for the last 2 years.
Franchise mode legend, Zach Senyshyn.
Yeah. 2016, you did get McAvoy 14th overall. All right, one hit. 29th overall, you get Trent Frederick. Great player, but I mean, a fourth line center with your first round pick, not great. But in 2016, 49th overall, they did draft Ryan Lindgren. Oh, you let him walk and go to the Rangers. Fantastic. Well, there you go. There's another. Oh no! Oh, they didn't let him walk. It was a trade that, didn't work out for Boston.
What they trade him for? If you have it there, I actually didn't know he got drafted by.
He was part of the Matt Beletsky trade.
Big names.
So, yeah. 2017, Euro Vakanainen, 18th overall. Didn't pan out for the Bruins. He was part of the trade for Hampus Lindholm. 2018, you didn't have a first-round pick. Probably for the best. 2019, 30th overall, you took John Beecher. Again, fun player, but first-round pick, you want more out of him. 2020, you didn't have a first-round pick. 2021, you had Fabian Lysell, who is struggling this year in the AHL. Still can't make the NHL 3 years after his draft year. Like, why even hold on to your first-round picks when you're going out there and you're just drafting guys, not even guys that, all of these guys that they're drafting, aside from McAvoy, didn't have high potential. You're literally drafting guys, and I believe it was Trent Frederick when they drafted him. Basically, they just said he's going to be a great third liner for us in the future. Why the fuck are you drafting guys in the first round with the mindset of, he's going to be like such a great third line player for us in the future?
Yeah, wasn't Pasternak like a 25th overall draft? Like, try and do something like that again.
Yeah,
you're telling me there are guys better out there in the draft, but you're gonna settle and take the reliable third liner.
Like the whole Sweeney Neely era needs to come to an end. And then, like, not even talking about the Ullmark deal. Like, I know Ullmark, hasn't been doing great for Ottawa, but Mark Haslick's been good, but you didn't need $3 million on Korpisalo when you've got Jeremy Swayman. You could have used that first round pick to try and trade for a first line center or improve your defense or improve your depth. Like,
dude, I'll be honest, and I don't think people are going to agree with this. I doubt you will, because it hasn't been done. Maybe called experimental. But for several years in a row, they got like 920 save percentage, low ball them 915 from both goaltenders, and it worked. We know what Ullmark took over there. We know they both wanted to stay. If they could have got both goalies at like 7.5 mil each and just kept them both, I think you're probably sitting pretty.
Yeah, honestly, it's not even a crazy thought. Like, honestly, looking at where the team's at now and how much both, Ullmark and Swayman aren't even the best goalies on their team right now.
Which is insane.
Like, that's how bad it is. So you know what? Yeah, if you got to pay 15 mil, I mean, what? You're paying.
How much more is that than Shesterkin's going to make? Like, it's a bit more, but
the Bruins
are paying all 82 games now.
You're paying 11 and a half, almost 12 mil for Swayman and Korpisalo. So yeah, why not add a couple extra mil on there and just run that elite tandem that was literally
for 8 years
your identity.
and just
teams got third and fourth line identity lines. The Bruins' identity was their goaltending tandem. They made goaltender tandems a big thing in the league. So
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I think they should have done that.
Like if you can get them for 16 or under mil for both of them, now you're playing all 82 games with a goalie you trust. There are no backup games. Like I know they wanted to pivot to one or the other, but like if they're both fine splitting the games, and they both seemed very happy with the situation they were in Boston, I think that would
Yeah.
have just been really good the way forward. And they've got having that duo, the defense core they have, like all you need is a couple guys to break through on offense, and you're sitting pretty. And that's just what the
Yeah.
Bruins have done for so long. And now it's only been 2 years, and they have already lost a Selke winning center, which, to be fair, he did retire, but you got to replace that. They lost a Vezina winning goalie, and now a Jack Adams winning coach. Like,
So
in
also
2
worth
years is a
noting,
short amount of turnover for that.
in a year and a half, all three of the Jack Adams finalists in 2023 have been fired.
Yeah.
Lindy Ruff with New Jersey, Dave Haxtell with Seattle, and now Jim Montgomery with Boston. So,
And I will
I
say,
mean, it's crazy.
I think people are surprised by that, and I'll tell you why I think they shouldn't be. Because
I'm only surprised with the Montgomery one.
yeah. But like in general, Jack Adams people getting fired, nominees and winners, it makes sense because it's not off because the reason Montgomery sticks out is because he was the best coach that year, right? Because he got 65 wins. The other ones, what were they? The guys who overperformed. They outperformed the expectations. When the team regresses back to the mean, oh, they don't got it anymore and they're out the door. Like, it's not actually the best coach award. It's whose team did better than we thought they would by a good margin.
Exactly, yeah.
And when the team comes back to earth, whether their hot streak ends, whatever it is, now people are looking at the coach like, what happened? We were cruising. So it is funny because it's, a year and a half later, but yeah, it does make sense because of the way that Jack Adams is voted on and handed out.
But to kind of wrap up this with the Bruins, I don't think Montgomery deserved to be fired. I think Sweeney, I think his time is up. Like at this point now, you just keep putting your coaches in bad spots, and they're giving Jim Montgomery, they're giving him moldy food, and they're saying, make me a 5-star meal out of it. And you know what? He fucking kind of has, actually. And apparently that still wasn't good enough for
His
Boston.
stats are crazy.
So they ship him out the door. They promote a guy who's already there. Like, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
I just see this season getting worse and worse for the Bruins now, honestly.
I don't see them getting better without him.
No.
Like,
I don't see this coaching change making the team better. If they stay the same, sure. I don't see this team getting any better than because they're going to be running the same system.
And
The assistant coaches run under this. They're going to run the same system that the other guy just had there.
one massive selling point for like free agents for a lot of people on why the Bruins have been so good for a decade plus here is the locker room. Everyone like talks about them with this aura, and it sounds like it's in turmoil now. Obviously Chara left at a point, Bergeron retired 2 years ago, but like you got quotes here from Captain Marchand now saying, we didn't do our jobs. We played badly and let a really good coach and a really good person down. Very disappointing, very frustrating. It's a reflection of our play. That's your captain saying that, man.
Yeah.
Your captain saying that while you're still in a playoff spot. Like, it doesn't sound like they're super happy in there.
And they shouldn't be.
We feel terrible as a group. I mean, that's right in the quote from Marchand. Yeah, like it doesn't sound great over there.
Yeah, wherever Montgomery goes, that team's going to be getting a terrific coach. And I'm curious to see, if there's a team out there that maybe makes a coaching change sooner rather than later because Montgomery's available and they want to maybe have first crack
I
at
don't
landing him.
I don't love teams doing that often because it can kind of come out of nowhere. Jim Montgomery is the kind of coach that I'm totally fine with doing that for.
Well, and if
Like,
you're Nashville, like you got to be looking hard at this.
yeah,
Like
which I actually do like Andrew Brunette as a head coach over there, but I mean their season has not started the way they
they're
thought
the
it
worst
would.
team in the
So
league.
yeah, like I I don't know if they're still dead last in the standings, but they're definitely underperforming more than anybody
They're second
else is.
last. The only team they're ahead of is Chicago, and you know what? The fact that they only have 2 more points than Chicago, and you look at their teams, is embarrassing. They what was it, 108 million spent in free agency,
They're
and
yeah,
you've allowed more goals than Chicago. You have more goals against than Chicago, and San Jose has more goals for than you.
San Jose is above them in standings.
Yeah, like Nashville is in such a bad spot. Like, yeah, again, they do have a good coach right now, but you got to try and make a move eventually because
Something's
you
got to
look at
happen. And all
look at
their
New
guys are
Jersey
old.
last year,
So
all these
many of them.
expectations, and you wait too long to make a move, and then you're too far out of it.
Yeah, you can't wait too long. And they they just, especially them, cannot afford to let this get away from them because they've got to be one of the oldest teams in the league. Like Ryan O'Reilly, Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Roman Yossi, like a
Even
lot of these,
Nyquist,
like Nyquist, like all these guys are like not just 30, they're like on the far side of 30. Like,
yeah,
and those are most of their best players. Like especially like Yossi. So they every year is going to get a lot harder for him. And I mean that's why Trotz was saying maybe we have to look at the rebuild again.
yeah, yeah. It's a tough spot for Nashville. You see the penalty they took last night.
Oh, I did hear about that. The incorrect lineup.
Like at that point, that was like kind of the tip of the iceberg to be like, okay, something's got to change here.
Yeah.
Like,
And you know what?
and then you get shut out
That
as
is on the
well.
coach as well.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they got
That's one of
shut
those
out in
times.
that
It's
game as
100%
well.
on the coach.
Yikes. I got to personally see them get shut out for Wolves' first shutout in the NHL uh about a week ago, and
Yeah.
so many of their guys are dangerous on their own. No, they are just not a cohesive unit, and I
Mhm.
don't know if that's coaching or just simply the fact that Stamkos has never played anywhere else, just got brought in. Marchessault did not look like himself at all. Like they a lot of their guys just look so they just don't know what each other's doing. They just don't get it yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they need time or if they do need a coaching change, but you know what?
Yeah.
I as much as I do like Andrew Brunette and I think he would find work elsewhere in the league as a head coach, Jim Montgomery might be exactly what the doctor ordered in Nashville.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very curious to see what Nashville does. I think everything, like every option, should be on the table. Um, the thing with a rebuild, right? There's two ways you can look at it for Nashville. If they decide to be like, all right, it's not working, let's go back to the drawing board and let's go with our original idea. Before the team went on that incredible run last year, they were going for a rebuild, and but now you're like, you look at all the guys they brought in. You just locked in Saros on that contract, which I mean, you could easily move. Um, but then it's the fact that, like, so if you do decide to do the rebuild, you do have some decent prospects in the mix, which is good. You do have 3 first-round picks, which is good. On the
Yeah.
flip side, though, is you traded Askarov, who, call me biased if you want. Fun fact: he is making his NHL debut tonight against St. Louis Blues, so that'll be fun.
Nice.
The best goaltending prospect in the NHL. You traded him away. And so it's like, if you're trading Askarov away and then immediately going into a rebuild, it's like, Well, now you just put yourself in an even trickier spot because, you look at all the teams that are kind of going through a rebuild. Uh, finding that goalie is huge. By all accounts, it looks like Anaheim has got their guy. San Jose's now got their guy. Chicago's still looking for their guy. Montreal's got a couple guys that they can pick from. Detroit's got their guy. So, I mean, and if
Yeah.
Nashville goes into a rebuild, they're back to square one of trying to now find a goalie again, which is the hardest thing to do in a
Well,
rebuild. In terms of things you can actually kind of
yeah.
control in a sense, because obviously getting the first overall pick is the toughest, but there is also luck involved with that.
Yeah. And I definitely don't disagree with that, but at the same time, they do have UC Saros locked in for 9 years. Obviously, he's 29 years old. He's a lot older than a guy like Askarov, but
But
it
if you're
it
UC
really it really
Saros,
depends how he holds on to that. Because some
are you
guys,
gonna
we've seen them hold
stick for
on
a
through the
rebuild?
rebuild.
But like if you're Saros in your prime, like do you really want to waste away, you know, 4 or 5 years playing just to lose and not be in the
If
playoffs? Like,
if you really believe in it that you will come out the other side as a legitimate contender, like it really depends because we've seen guys do that where they stick around, they stick through the rebuild, and then it all works out. We've also seen guys like John Gibson who their value just keeps going down and down, and we don't know if he's going to stay with the team, if another team wants him, where he would be the most benefit. Like he's in such a weird spot, and it's not a if they went into a rebuild, it would be a very similar situation. So
yeah, but Gibson was a lot younger when Anaheim went into theirs. Like you said, Saros is 29. So for Nashville, even if it's we only talk about retool. We'll just say rebuild. It's like at least 5 years to kind of go through a full rebuild and get back to being an actual, even somewhat contender. You're probably looking at 6 or 7 years to actually be like a legit contender if everything goes right. So then
I don't
he's
know if I agree on that timeline though, just because I think a lot of people try and pigeonhole it, and they'll bring up examples because there's examples of all kinds of rebuilds. Like there are teams that you know uh, like Chicago who have been bad for several years at this point. They're still bad. They're clearly going to get better at some point, but where are they? Year 5, 6 of the rebuild? Like they've been
yeah.
tearing it down for a long time. But there's also teams that turn it around real quick in 2 or 3 years that whether it's good
Not if
drafting,
you're
good
doing
free
that.
agent
That's
signings.
a retool. That's what I'm saying. That's a retool. That's why I
And
said we're not talking about retool. Like if like Barry Trotz said, like their original plan actually doing a rebuild
I guess, but
because they
you
could do
can't
a
do that.
retool, 100%.
I don't think they can do a rebuild. I think retool is their only option now. They have too many assets. Like you can't just have Marchessault sitting on the shelf. He's currently 33 years old at 5.5 mil
Well,
for
no,
the
I
next
think the
five
plan would
years.
be you just start shipping all those guys out.
Exactly. And between all those assets and the three first rounders they have this year, like I they just have so many assets. I can't see it taking 5 years. Assuming they don't fumble the
It
bag
takes a
with a
bit
ton
for
of
players to develop though, because like you look at those picks, like if Nashville does commit, okay, that first round pick is actually that will be a decent one. But Vegas's first round pick is probably 20 to 32nd. We've already kind of mentioned. I think it was just earlier this week. It might have been last week that this draft isn't exceptionally deep, like the 2024 one we just had was. And I can't remember the other first. Oh, they have Tampa's first. So again, that's going to be 20 to 32. And
yeah.
so, you might still get good players there, but they're probably guys that are it's going to take a little bit longer uh, to develop.
Yeah.
And if I'm Sars, I would just be like, does he want to waste his prime kind of going through a retool rebuild, and then you've got a small window to try and win a cup actually being the guy? Because probably by the time he's 38, 39, even if he's playing, probably going to be more of a backup role, or at least in a tandem, I would assume, unless he's still going nuts at that age. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just Nashville's in such a tough spot. Like, you feel like they got to make a trade or they got to do something.
Yeah,
Regardless of what it is, they got to make
they
some kind of
100%
move.
have to do something
Yeah,
soon. But yeah, I do think if they played their cards right, got the proper assets, they would need good drafting as well. Um, I can see a path forward where they retool and kind of take a step back for 1 to 2 years and kind of come back with it. You you're probably moving out. I mean, God, they just signed Brady Shea, but it's is he worth 7 mil for another 7 years?
I mean, the way he was playing on Carolina, yeah. The way he's playing on Nashville, yeah, definitely not.
Yeah. Honestly, you know what? A lot looking at this team more and more, it really does scream like it needs exactly a coach like Jim Montgomery, a guy who can help the goalie, who can help the defense, and then you've got all this talent like Philip Forsberg, Stamkos, Marchessault, Ryan O'Reilly. You just say, "Go have fun, score 3 goals a game, and we'll win."
Yeah,
Because they got a lot of good defensemen, and Saros
yeah,
backstopping them could be real nice. But yeah,
yeah.
they definitely have to do something.
Moving on with the train here. Take your pick on what do you want to cover next here?
This
Still got a
one,
couple more things.
yeah, this one won't take too long because we don't know much about it. But JT Miller has announced that he is taking a leave of absence from the Canucks. It has been labeled indefinite, but that is only because they don't know how long it'll take.
Yeah,
It's
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 JT
an
Miller's
undetermined
decision
amount. So
when he's coming back.
yeah, he cited personal reasons. So could be back in a week, could be back next season. No idea. No idea what's going on
He
with his
will be
personal
back at
life,
some
but
point this season.
I
Um,
would I would assume so. But
yeah,
you know, uh, you know, their coach handled it very well, saying like nobody nobody make any assumptions. This has nothing to do with coaching. Uh, I think he got healthy scratched or benched recently. I think he got benched for a period,
yeah,
and he
he
was
got
saying
benched.
this has nothing to do with that. Uh, it has nothing to do with his on ice play. Like, don't
Yeah.
speculate any of that crap, which was good.
Well, and Rick Tocchet's he's a great coach. Any player that's played for him, like they have such respect for him. Like he's a good dude. He has great relationship with his players. So yeah, no, JT Miller's decision has nothing to do with that. Um, it's tough for the Canucks though. You know, they're currently sitting 9-6-3 right now, 21 points. They're holding on to that wild card 2 spot. But JT Miller, we don't know how long JT Miller's out for. Brock Besser's out. Thatcher Demko's still out. It's
Demko did recently say that he is making a lot of good progress to the point where yeah, here it is 7 hours ago. Thatcher Demko is joining Canucks for their current 6 game road trip. Um, he was part of a skate. He was part of a morning skate, which is described here as a bag skate. That's rough. But it it looks like he can see a point where he's going to join the team again, at least.
mhm, which is good. Here's the thing though. If for whatever reason, if things keep going south for the Canucks, like they could be a they could make some big moves at the deadline.
Like moving
To
guys
kind
out.
of reshape the team a bit, I think. Yeah, because well, I mean, as they probably should. I think if you are going to miss the playoffs, I think you got to at least try to just get some kind of value back and try and maybe reshape the team a little bit. Because like right now, your top six, your first line is Jake DeBrusk, Elias Pettersson, Kiefer Sherwood. Second line is Pia Suter, centering Dakota Joshua and Connor Garland. Like that's rough right now.
You say Kiefer Sherwood was on their first line?
Yeah, and
Oh,
he's one of the guys I want to talk about because
wow, I didn't know it was
um,
that bad.
Kiefer. No, you don't know Kiefer Sherwood.
Exactly, and he's on their
I'm not
first
even
line.
I'm not even exaggerating. If the Canucks were going to miss the playoffs, there would be at least two teams that would offer a first and a prospect for Kiefer Sherwood at the deadline.
Really?
Yeah. I'll tell you why.
Hit me with
Kiefer
it.
Sherwood so far with the Canucks this year. 18 games played. He has 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points.
It's not bad.
He is making $1.5 million for this year and next year.
Nice. He's got a very movable, enticing contract, not just movable.
Top 5 in hits so far this season. Number 5 is Will Cooley with the Rangers. He has 72. Fourth most hits this year, Mark Kastelik with the Bruins, 75. Third, Brady Tkachuk on Ottawa, 78. Number 2, Jeremy Lauzon with Nashville, who had the most hits last year. He has 92.
Yeah, Lazon's
Kiefer
always throwing him
Sherwood,
out there.
first. Guess how many hits he has? Lauzon second with 92.
Not second with 92. You wouldn't be bringing it up if it wasn't at least a good chunk higher, right? Like, I'm gonna say like 110. Like it's got to be
115.
115.
Going through and going through all their games this season, and this will be quick, that's just numbers. Hits per game from Sherwood: 3, 6, 4, 10, 9, 12, 6, 9, 5, 5, 3, 7, 5, 3, 8, 5, 5, 10. And I didn't skip any games because there was 0. There was no game with 0 hits.
Fair enough.
This
Honestly,
dude has 10 points in 18 games, and he just hits everything in sight. And he's on a cheap contract. He's only 29. He's right-handed, which, you know what, I think helps.
and you know what
Because
else
it seems like
helps?
right-handed players are just disappearing off the face of the earth.
You know what else helps here that I'm noticing? Because I'm also looking at his stats. Penalty minutes, 6. He's
Oh,
hitting
yeah, I
people
didn't, I
like
didn't
a
even look
truck.
at that.
He's taking a ton. He's doing so many hits. He's not in their top like 10 for penalties taken. He's not taking many penalties.
He's also
That's 3
averaging
minor penalties.
13.50 time on ice per game. So he's playing, third liner minutes, maybe some penalty kill time. He's not getting power play time really.
Yeah, no power play or shorthanded points, which means he's got 10 points in 18 games at 5-on-5. He's hitting it like crazy. You're selling me on him, dude. Like this, like honestly,
Yeah.
those stats are real nice. And that is everything you want in a rental at the deadline for the playoffs. Like
Yeah. And the biggest part is, again, it's $1.5 million, but
for
he's also
2
signed
years.
for next year as well. Like, I'm sure the Canucks would love to hold on to a guy like that, but if you're missing the playoffs and teams are coming at you with offers for him, like if you can get a good package for him, that can help.
Yeah. Like yeah, that looks great. And like because everything's about me. Like it's giving a guy like Blake Coleman or something. When we got him, he was on a cheap deal that he was outperforming, but it's also 2 years, so you get him for 2 seasons. It's not a one and done playoff rental. Like he's
Well,
hitting
the
everything
better
that
one
moves.
would
He's a
be
wrecking ball. Like
the better one would be talking about a guy like Hagel. Like Chicago was able to get 2 firsts for him because a big
yeah, I
part
think they might
was
get more
his
for them.
contract.
Sure would. But like Hagel was also a good bit younger,
Yeah.
had a bit more
And he
upside.
had
But
probably has well, at the time, definitely had more offensive upside. But a big
but
part of why
yeah,
Chicago was able to get 2 firsts was because, Tampa was in their window, they were up against the cap. Hagel's coming in for the remainder of that year and the next year on a really, like, dirt cheap contract,
yeah,
for
that
what he
that extra
was
year
producing.
really does add a lot. Like
Mhm. It
yeah,
did more
and
back then when, like, it was a flat cap, like, with the salary cap changing now, maybe not as much, but, like, back then, like, yeah, it was huge.
yeah, and honestly, still like you know, there's a couple teams that spring to mind that could really use a guy like this. Teams like the New Jersey Devils. Like if they're going into the playoffs this year, they probably love adding another guy who can score, but he's also just gonna hit everything. Like
Yeah.
I could see him going to the Rangers pretty easily. Like,
The
yeah,
Rangers would love a guy. Rangers are always grabbing someone like that every year at the deadline,
yeah.
it seems.
I mean,
They're
fuck,
always
if we
adding
have
a
the room,
third
I
or
could see him
fourth
going to
liner to just
Tampa.
hit.
Like, what team
Yeah.
couldn't use a guy like this? He does it all.
Yeah. But with the
He showed
Canucks,
me.
hope JT Miller's doing well. Hope he comes back soon. Yeah. And
Yeah,
hopefully we get Demko back.
yeah,
Hopefully he's back soon.
yeah. He's progressing. So it's at some point here. But
Next up on the board, the Edmonton Oilers claiming Kasperi Kapanen off waivers from the St. Louis Blues. I mean, okay.
yeah, I mean,
It doesn't make sense for Edmonton, really.
there's not. Yeah, there's not a ton to really say about it. He makes 1 mil for the next year, and that's it. They're,
Yeah.
seeing if he'll be good enough, I guess. It's a gamble.
Yeah. Speaking of Edmonton, though, I genuinely don't.
Is this a
I don't know.
revenge? Is this a revenge claim? I'm just now realizing.
I don't
Is
think
this
so.
revenge for them offer sheeting two guys? Because Kapanen's coming over from the Blues.
If it is, the Blues are just sitting there laughing even harder.
Yeah, I
Kapanen
don't think they're
really,
missing him.
I don't really watch many Blues games. I know his offensive numbers haven't been great, and all I'm seeing from Blues fans when I'm looking is they're totally fine with this. They
I
really
mean, he was
didn't
getting
hold
waived.
much love for Kapanen.
If he's that good, he wouldn't be getting sent to the minors. Like,
Yeah. With the Oilers though, I don't think there's a player in the league I feel more bad for than Leon Draisaitl.
well,
I really don't.
I don't know about that. He's got a real nice contract extension kicking
I
in this
mean, yeah,
offseason.
aside from that, though, but like, look at last year, right? In the playoffs, who did he have on his line? Corey Perry and
Is it Nugent Hopkins? No, he would have been on the
no,
first.
News was on the first. Maybe Warren Fogle. Anyway, it
Yeah.
wasn't great wingers for a guy like Leon Draisaitl to be on the second line with of a cup contending team.
Yeah.
We're talking about their offseason. And,
Evander
all these
Kane did
guys
get
they're
injured, I
bringing in.
suppose.
They're going out and they're grabbing Jeff Skinner, Victor Arvidsson, like perfect guys to come into the top six to, so Draisaitl can finally have line mates. Victor Arvidsson again gets injured. That was one of the biggest talking points about him is can he stay healthy? We're 20 games into the year. And the other night, Leon Draisaitl on the second line was centering Corey Perry and Vasily Podkolzin. We're right back where we were as Victor Arvidsson was out injured and Jeff Skinner was demoted to the fourth line.
Yeah. Well, the good news is if the Oilers play tonight, he won't be playing with them, but he will still be playing with Podkolzin. I just pulled up their lines. They currently have him listed to play on the first with McDavid. Podkolzin's the third guy in that trio.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know Hyman's out for tonight. Yeah. So, crazy to think Hyman getting injured is what it takes for Draisaitl to actually get, a competent line mate. Oh, just one even. Because, it's just tough for him.
That's rough.
Like having to carry Corey Perry and Podkolzin through an entire game is rough, man. But he was making 14 mil. So hey, if you weren't making 14 mil, no, maybe you'd have better line mates. So yeah, you are right there. You are right there. I'll give you that one.
Yeah, and at least it is just injuries. They aren't completely void of surrounding with talent. A guy like Pasternak, even if his team's fully healthy, his line mates aren't even close to him. So
yeah,
but
that's true.
Yeah, we'll see how they do through some of these injuries because looks like Hyman's gonna miss about a week of play. We've got, who knows if Jeff Skinner and Arvidsson can stay healthy? Like,
Well, Jeff Skinner has been healthy. He's just
Oh, Skinner's been healthy?
he's just not doing anything. 20 games, 3 goals, 3 assists. And even Arvidsson, when healthy, 16 games, 2 goals, 3 assists.
-8 for Skinner. Yikes.
Well, Skinner wasn't coming in to provide any defensive stability.
I guess not, but like nobody else on the team is really that low. Ty Emberson is a -7, and Jeff Skinner's a -8. Other than that, the lowest looks like -3.
No, we got with the new addition Kapanen, -6. He fits the bill. That's right. That's what they're looking for. Yeah. So, is what it is for Everton. Draisaitl is a +9.
Yeah, he's doing
Next
it
highest
for
on
him.
the team is McDavid, +4.
Yeah, I mean, who else could be leading it, right?
Yeah.
Bouchard, man,
No.
we haven't even talked about Bouchard yet. Like
what?
Did we? Because we talked last episode about how bad his giveaways were, right? And his effort, and then he comes back. I think it was their next game, and just goes end to end, dangles through a defenseman, and roofs it on the goalie.
Yeah.
Like he heard people were talking shit. He was like, "All right, I'm gonna go prove him wrong," and he did, I suppose, but it doesn't quite answer for the defensive side.
Actually, speaking of Bouchard, I saw
It's a +2.
I don't know who put it there, so I can't give credit to him, but I someone sent me something, and it actually summed it up perfectly, and it made me sit there and be like, you know what, that's a very good point, actually. Because we were talking about, should Bouchard maybe be on Team Canada for the Four Nations? Should he not? And because there's starting to become there's a lot of chatter now about maybe Chris Tanev making a team for his defensive play. And what was sent to me basically was summed up was, if you're Canada and you're playing the Americans and you're up or you're down 3-2 with 5 minutes left, you're going to put Makar out there over Bouchard. But if there's 5 minutes left and you're winning 3-2, you're going to put Tanev out there over Bouchard. So it's like, yeah, I was like, it's actually a good point. Like, it helps to have a little bit of variety as opposed to, kind of a bunch of the same players.
It definitely does. I still wouldn't have Tanev on the team necessarily.
I would have Tanev as, I think that if you're 7th guy, I wouldn't hate that. Should he be playing every game?
I just think there's better.
No,
I think there's better options. Like, obviously, you definitely don't deploy Bouchard in that situation. But honestly, I don't even love him on the team at this point because they have so many guys who can do exactly what he does.
Yeah.
And in Makar's case, better. But instead of replacing him with a Tanev, maybe replace him with a Pietrangelo, a Mackenzie Weegar, someone like that who, can still go out there. They can still play the two-way game and all that. But, if they make that shot block, they can make a real nice stretch pass and get back into the play kind of thing. A guy
in an ideal
more
world,
of a two-way guy versus a very defensive focused guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, in an ideal world, I'm still hoping Drew Doughty is able.
Yeah.
I don't think he will, but like in an ideal world, that's like, yeah, that would be sweet.
You got to imagine he's working hard to try and get back for that.
I would think so. But moving on down the list, do you want to talk about Chicago here?
Yeah. The Chicago Blackhawks healthy scratch Taylor Hall the other day. He has not been playing great for them so far this season. Yeah, there's not a ton to say. He said he was very surprised by it. He did not expect it at all. I don't think he said in as many words that he was expecting other guys to get scratched first or anything, but I definitely don't think he at all thought he was like on the even in the conversation for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that's interesting because that is something that I think was in Philadelphia a year or two ago that we kind of saw was a bit of an issue with, a breakdown in communication between the team and the players of like, knowing that the coach is upset with your play recently and knowing where you stand with them and everything. So, might be a similar thing in Chicago here, where the players don't really know what the coach is thinking as much.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even think of it that way. But I do also kind of think, you know what? Regardless of how good of a player you have been, how much you're getting paid, you know, I mean, getting you should never feel 100% safe with your job and comfortable being like, oh, I'm one of the veterans on the team. I'm still one of the better players. Like I can't be a healthy scratch. Like, yeah, everyone's is on the same uh, playing field. So you know what? Like, even if that communication's not there, like, okay, it may suck, but like, I don't think the coach necessarily has to be like, oh, we're not happy with your play. You might be a healthy scratch soon. Like, if you're not producing, you should be expecting sometimes. Like, yeah, I might get benched. I might be a healthy scratch. Like, if you're not
Yeah,
if you're not producing, if you're not, helping the team when you're out there, yeah, you don't deserve a free pass.
yeah, and the way he said it, it doesn't come across as like he thought he was untouchable. Just
Yeah,
he
no, no, no,
he
no.
really didn't
Yeah,
think his
I'm not saying
play.
like Hall thought he was untouchable.
Yeah, but yeah, 6 points, only 2 of them goals in 18 games. You know, he's playing fine. Definitely not playing what they want him to do.
Well, and the thing is with
He did
Hall,
only
like
play 10 games last year,
10
so
games last year.
because of injury, so he's been out of it for quite a long time. But
The thing with Hall, right, is I mean, he was the first overall pick, but like he never had that, game changing skill, right? Like it's not like elite level skill he ever had. It was elite level skating he had. And, as the game continues to get faster and faster and whatnot, those players that relied a lot on their skating, it becomes a bit tougher for him. And so, I don't by no means do I think Taylor Hall is, gonna be like washed or anything like that. But I think he needs to maybe, figure out how to adapt to the
yeah,
way that the game goes on now, being like, all right, I can't just wheel and deal with my speed anymore and whatnot. He needs to start figuring out, other ways in how he can still because he could still easily be a, 60 to 65 point guy. He's just got to figure out how he can do that now. Because
yeah,
he can't do it the same way he could 5, 6 years ago when he was winning a Hart Trophy.
yeah, and yeah. I mean, Jesus Christ, it was already, what is that, 7, 8 years ago that he won that Hart Trophy. But like
Uh, yeah,
it, yeah, he had 61 points, 20 goals in 81 games just 3 seasons ago in Boston.
yeah.
Kind of revitalized his career a little bit there, and you know, obviously in the last 2 seasons now, including this one, so far he's only played 28 games. But yeah, if he can adapt, I think he could still be a producer for a couple more years easily
Oh,
in this
most
league.
definitely, yeah,
Yeah, maybe this is the kick in the butt he needs.
yeah. Moving on down the line, going over to Washington. Uh, Alex Ovechkin. Uh, what was it, like an hour after we sat there glazing him earlier this week? Goes down with a lower body injury. Um, you know, just not even dirty, just an unfortunate collision. Uh, Thankfully, it's not anything that's going to take him out for the entire year or for months. Thankfully, it is just week to week.
Yeah, a lot of
Um,
people thought it might be really bad, just the
yeah,
nature
well,
of knee
I
injuries.
kind of thought it was at first. I thought it didn't look good. But you know what? Ovi is an absolute beast. He's a warrior, so he'll be back in no time. I'm pretty sure this injury will actually be the longest of his career.
I'm I mean, I definitely wouldn't doubt it. He really has not missed like any games hardly.
The
Like
least amount the most he missed 10 games in the 2009-2010 season.
yeah, like he doesn't really miss games.
Yeah, he's just always been healthy. He trains hard. He takes care of himself. He's just a freak. Like he's just he takes care of himself. And he's having just a monster season so far, which is very unfortunate for the timing of his injury. 18 games played, 15 goals, 10 assists. He's a plus 15. He was not joking when he said, "No, I'm going for the Selkie." He's had a terrific season so far for Washington, and I'm curious to see how they what the team does, how the team continues to perform without him, because they've gotten off to a really good start.
Yeah,
Great
if they
start.
if they keep this up, they're gonna make the playoffs. Like,
Are you a Capitals believer? Are you bought in on this team? Do you believe in this team?
not yet. They played very well to start the year,
I'm a
but
believer. I'll put my hand up. I believe in this team.
how do you believe in them? Believe that they're gonna make the playoffs? That they're
Yeah,
contenders?
you know what? The, unless you're a team that like the perfect example is Washington last year. They were the only team in the playoffs that I was like, they're the only team that has a 0% chance of winning because they barely clawed in. They weren't a good team, and they're going up against the Rangers. But if Washington makes the playoffs in any capacity, I I think they have a shot. I think this team is it's one of those teams that's kind of getting it done by committee. They're having, guys have breakout years like McMichael's got 12 goals in 18 games, only has 3 less than Ovi. Dylan Strome has 28 points in 18 games. Washington's just running a goaltender tandem between Lindgren and Thompson. They're both balling out.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely get why people are saying it. Like, and they're 13-4-1. They're doing so well to start the year. Uh, I'm not fully sold on it yet. I think they're gonna have to regress to the means a little bit. They're not. I don't think Strome's gonna put up 120 points this year. I don't think McMichael's gonna end with 60 goals, but uh,
It's
they could
definitely
still
going
put
to come
together.
down a bit.
But they could still very well, at the very least, get in the playoffs with the start that they've had. And I wouldn't be incredibly shocked if they got, second or third round. But yeah, something about it. It's just missing something that you know makes me think they're a legit contender. Like
The
I would
thing
I
with
would be very shocked if
Washington,
they did win the cup.
Washington, if you're Washington, you need to finish, I think, whether you're 1, 2, or 3 in the Metro. I don't think you want to take that risk of a wild card potentially going over to the Atlantic Division. Um, because I just don't really like Washington's chances as much against whichever of the teams, whether it's Toronto, Florida, or Tampa. Uh,
I get what
I
you're
don't
saying
really,
actually here.
I don't
Yeah.
really love their chances against the Rangers because of the way the Rangers are built. But honestly, I would probably take Washington a 7-game series over Carolina or New Jersey.
I was
I don't think the
like,
Rangers though, because the Rangers are like the perfect counter
yeah.
to Washington. But like I think Washington would, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you know what? It makes a lot of sense. Like the Hurricanes and the Devils are both really good teams. I would say they're better than the Caps, but like
Yeah, in
the way
terms of
th- the way
skill, they're
they
better than the
the way they
Caps,
match
but
up against them, yeah,
yeah.
like I like their chance against them a lot better.
Like I think we were both kind of on the same page. We really didn't understand Washington's off season and what they were doing, but starting to see the way the team's playing in their own, I'm like, I see what they were doing now. I see the way that they were building this team to the point where they can go up against again teams like Carolina and New Jersey that are better, But I think Washington beats them because of the way that their team's built and their style.
Yeah.
And especially if Ovi's, if he comes back and continues on the way he was prior to this injury, like Ovi in the playoffs is just a different just a different dude. He's insane.
Yeah, you need a really good penalty kill, and you're gonna need a really good goalie
Yeah.
to stop him.
So if Washington could just stay away from the Rangers, that should be their biggest focus. It's just not having to play them again.
Yeah, which it kind of looks like the Rangers are down there a bit in their points because of they only have 25 points, so they're fourth in the Metro, but they've played less games than every other team in the Metro so far.
They've played 4 less games than New Jersey.
And they're behind by a single point.
Yeah.
The Devils' spot in there in the standings have consistently all year been propped up by playing all those early games, and they just have a couple extra wins against Buffalo in their back pocket. Like, they really should be closer down to the Islanders almost.
Yeah. Yeah, actually though.
But
one last
moving
thing
on.
to talk about, and then I'm gonna pick your brain on a couple of things here.
Oh,
A couple
pick it.
things you don't know about, so I'm just gonna hit you with them and pick your brain. But do you want to talk about this last one here?
Yeah. So for those of you who didn't see the Vegas Maple Leafs game,
What was the score of that game?
I think it was 3-0 Leafs over
Yeah,
Vegas.
it was. Yeah, it was.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were setting me up or didn't see the game.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But
Good finish on the alley-oop there. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Vegas got shut out big time. And Zach Whitecloud had a massive hit on Matthew Knies. There's a lot of differing opinions on if this was a clean hit or not. There were guys, I want to say it was on SportsCenter or TSN or one of those outlets where they had the panel all watching the clip and talking through it. They were explaining how clean it was as they showed in slow-mo Matthew Knies getting brained by Whitecloud.
The one thing I will say,
I don't think it was super malicious, but I do think it was a bad hit.
Before I say my thoughts on it, the one thing I will say, just because this involves a Toronto player, does not mean we compare this to the Ryan Reeves hit. Because so many people are like, well, look at Ryan Reeves gets 5 games for this, and then Whitecloud. These are 2 completely different scenarios, 2 completely different hits.
Ryan Reeves only ever meant to hit the head. That's it.
Yeah. Whitecloud, I will say you could call it a dirty hit if you want. I can understand it. I don't think so. Knies did have his head down. Whitecloud is objectively just a bigger player. People say Whitecloud left his feet. No. It was,
He left it after the hit. It was a follow through.
And that happens. Like, how many, hits do we see where a guy comes in? It's 2 big, well, not big guys, but just 2 guys coming in, full force at each other. You're not going to be able to just stay on your feet the whole time. Like, your momentum carries you forward.
Yeah.
And Whitecloud his elbow was tucked in. His elbow was not extended out at all. So
no, it's very different from the Reeves hit.
It's an unfortunate hit. I think it's a clean hit. It's unfortunate that there's an injury, but like Whitecloud's intention was to lay a hard, clean hit. It wasn't, like Reeves to purposely target a defenseless player by sticking an elbow out. Like, those are 2 completely different plays.
I definitely think this should have been a major. I might give him 1 game, but that's 1 or 2 is as far as I would go, because
I would have been okay with
the principal point of contact was the head, and a lot of people don't like it because maybe it leans in the favor of guys who are being unaware, but whether a guy's head is down or not, it still can't be the principal point of contact.
But what is Whitecloud supposed to do?
Hit him from the side on the shoulder.
But they were coming at each other.
Exactly. So you have to position yourself in a way where you can make a legal hit. If the guy's got his head forward, like, what are you supposed to do? Get down, like squat down and then pounce up at him so you hit his chest under his head? Like, if a guy has his head down, that's not free
But
pass
but
to just
again, like
brain the dude.
how big is Matt Knies?
I'm not sure. I don't think he's very tall. Probably 5'10". Take a guess.
Whitecloud 6'2", 207. Knies is 6'2", 207
meters.
to. Okay, so Knies is actually bigger, 6'2", 210.
Yeah.
So basically the same size players. So I don't know, because like I do get what you're saying. Yeah, you put yourself in a position to make a clean hit if it could have been from the side, but Whitecloud was in front of Knies, and Whitecloud's not just gonna be like, oh, I can't hit him, and you're not gonna just stick your stick in there.
But let's
So
not
you can't
pretend
just
like a
move
hit's
out of the
all
way and.
a hit is not all he could do. This was at the red line. He was not in a dangerous spot to score. He could have stick checked him. He could have hit him a different way. He could have hit him with a hip check and sent him sailing over top of him. Like, it's not
But
like
people
he
would say
had
that's
no
dirty.
options.
People would say you're targeting. It's the same thing PK Subban dealt with, where people say it's cheap because you're trying to blow the guy's knees out by going low on him.
Well, it
Like,
depends on how you do it. There's a difference between a good hip check and, submarining a dude's knees.
It's an unfortunate hit. I think that Knies got injured, but it's a hard, clean hit.
I really
He
don't
didn't
think it is
leave his
clean.
feet. He didn't stick his
he hit him in the
elbow
head.
out. Like,
He didn't do it on purpose, which is why I wouldn't want him suspended near as much as Reeves.
but
It was
if you
not
suspend
malicious.
him, you set the precedent that anytime you throw a hit and you make any contact with the player's head, you're automatically getting a suspension. And you can't go back on that and be like, well, there's different scenarios. It's like, well, no,
there are
setting a
different
precedent.
scenarios. Well, two things. One, absolutely they can go back on it. They do it all the time. It's bad, but they do it.
Well, they could, but again, you're just going to create more outrage from people.
Yeah,
which they're clearly trying to avoid. They're not really excelling at it, but they are trying to avoid it.
But the principal point of contact, the first spot hit, should not be the head. If you hit a guy, like you just dig your shoulder in, you stop, and he just runs chest first into you, and because you're 200-pound dudes, one's going freaking 15 miles an hour or something, and the shoulder rides up in a way that just kind of happens, like that just kind of happens when guys are flying into each other at that speed. If you come in and your shoulder hits the guy in the jaw, well, that's a lot different.
I mean, but I just don't think you can give players a free pass and be like, you can't be hit if you have your head down, because your head's going to be the first point of contact. So, because then fucking McDavid's going to go end to end with his head down the whole time, and if someone hits him, well, it's hit to the head, and you're
if
suspended.
If your head's down,
right?
you're not looking around. Like, guys would not start doing that. That couldn't become the new meta, because then guys are going to come flying in, hit him in the shoulder, and blow them up. Or you know what? If you got your head down and don't see the guy coming, fucking stick check him.
Whitecloud. I think it was a good hit by Whitecloud. Like it sucks that Knies got injured, because Knies has been having a terrific start to the year. He's been
people don't like the defending of guys with their head down, and I get it, but we can't just allow people to hit people in the head.
No, but I don't think this is a suspendable hit.
I'd be fine with one game. It definitely should have been at least a major. The fact that this is a 2-minute minor is kind of wild.
I don't think he didn't get a penalty. I don't think.
I think it was called originally as a 5-minute.
Vegas walked away with.
It got either reduced to either 0 or 2 minutes. I'm not sure.
I think Vegas walked away with the power play.
That's also annoying when that happens. Like, a guy gets dummied, and then there's roughing on both sides, but one team gets more.
Yeah, because Whitecloud got 2 for roughing, and then Alex Steves, he got 4 for roughing. So Vegas did walk away the power play out of it.
Yeah, like that's when it's just goofy.
Like, I definitely don't think that Vegas should have gotten a power play as a result of this hit. But yeah, in my opinion, yeah, to me, I just think yeah, I don't think he should. If you give him 5 in a game, okay, that's fine. But in no world did I even think for a second Whitecloud would get a suspension for it.
Yeah, like I am saying at most 2 games if they really want to crack down on it. but that would
Like
be in
if
a
his
scenario
elbow came
where
out in the
Reeves got
slightest,
8 games.
okay, yeah, but
Yeah, because it was not malicious. It was not a
yeah,
malicious hit. There's a reason that he didn't jump into it. He didn't, stick an elbow out. None of that. But
yeah,
just
and
just
he
setting
didn't
setting the
target him. It
precedent
was
that you
just
can't hit guys in the head, I think, is just always a good thing.
but you got to pick a better one to do it to set the precedent with though, because if you do that, then again, it's anytime a hit like this happens, suspensions are happening. Now, you got to at least be like, if if he jumped even a little bit or had his elbow out a bit, okay, sure. But Whitecloud did, everything by the book for how to just deliver an open ice hit.
I mean, on his end, but he didn't pick his target at the right time, and because of that, he, hit the guy in the head. Like, it's like how you can make a good play trying to stick check a guy, but if the other guy, takes a weird crossover, your blade's under his skate, now you got a tripping penalty. Like, you can do the right thing and still just, commit an infraction.
Okay, but Knies could have done the right thing and picked his head up. Like,
Yeah, and there's the
you can't
argument.
go you can't go
That's why
barreling
it's not a
down
black.
middle of the ice with
That's
your
why it's
head
not a black
down.
and
Like,
white thing, right?
watch
I'm
watch
just on the
me.
side of, you know,
I'm all for protecting players, but I mean, if you're gonna barrel down the ice with your head down, you're gonna get hit. Like anytime players see a
and
guy with their head down, they go for the hit because it's the perfect opportunity to
exactly.
knock
And I
them
just
off the
want that
puck.
to be on the shoulder. I would have been so fine of Nyes getting fucking
But
blown
how
up
could
from
he?
the
How
side.
could Whitecloud hit Knies on the shoulder there? Does Whitecloud have to jump to the middle and then try and jump back to catch him at the right time? Like,
No, you just he doesn't have to make this decision after he's committed to the hit. He's in front of him, back skating. He's coming down on the side. You kind of slow down and you time it. You have to time it. Timing's everything.
but those ones are the ones where when a guy's coming at you and you try to go for those shoulder, that's when you get a lot of those knee on knees. That's why you always take the center of the body, because if you're trying to time it right to go and just get shoulder to shoulder, first of all, you're putting yourself at risk of getting twisted and turned and flipped around. And that's how a lot of those knee on knee hits happen. Is
Oh,
guys try to
maybe.
time it right, and then more often than not, it's not shoulder on shoulder being the first point of contact. It's the two knees
Yeah.
smashing into each other. Which, I mean, neither one is a good alternative. Like whether
No.
it's a knee on knee or a hit to the head, both are awful. But
Yeah. I'm sure there was a way he could have hit him from the front and avoided the head, or again, he's not looking up, he's not paying attention. Just stick lift him. Just take the freaking puck. Um, you know, Sometimes there's an opportunity to blow a guy up. Sometimes he's not in a spot where you can do it legally. And
I don't know.
there might have been one here, but
I mean, like, I think I've made it very clear. I'm definitely not Vegas' biggest supporter, but for once, I'm siding with Vegas, which
yeah.
hurts. Feels
Yeah.
fucked
And I
up
know
to
and I know
say.
I would say the majority of hockey fans probably share your stance on it. People really don't like you know, I'm not saying they're for head hits or anything, like that's obviously insane. But
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
people don't like defending the people who have their head down because they are being unaware and all that. And I definitely think guys should not do that either, but you know,
yeah.
you're never going to have a sport where nobody's doing that. And
Mhm. Yeah, that is true.
but either way, I don't believe there's been any word on that. Do we know if have they said are they going to uh do anything regarding like suspension? Is he like have they said they're not going to?
It doesn't sound like it. I haven't seen anything saying that he'll be suspended or there's a hearing. As far as I know, nothing's come out at least. Let me check here and see if they put out anything.
White
Yeah,
Cloud
no.
was originally slapped with a 5-minute major on the play and likely would have been ejected had the penalty being upheld by the refs. Not only did the refs not uphold the call, they rescinded it entirely, essentially establishing it was a clean hit. Uh, where we got here?
Yeah.
While many in Toronto were expecting a suspension announced for Whitecloud, unfortunately, it does not appear to be coming per TSN's Gino Rita. The league has reviewed the play and has no intention of issuing a suspension. So he's not getting a suspension.
Yeah. In my opinion, I don't. If he did, like, I'm not gonna be like, arguing about it. But yeah, I didn't think he deserved to.
Yeah, it
My
wouldn't be the
biggest
first
stance,
time to player safety fuck something up either way. Like,
my biggest stance is just we cannot compare this to the Ryan Reese hit, because that one is just is just a completely different thing in all facets of the game. So just because it involves two Toronto players in each play does not mean let's start comparing them.
It was a blindside hit where this one wasn't. Knies was probably expecting a hit way more because of his position on the ice, the elbow, the jump. The only point of contact in the Reeves hit was the head. Like, everything about it was like not just a bad hit, but dirty and like purposefully dirty.
Yeah.
This one, the worst you could say about it, like negligence. Like he didn't pay attention enough to not hit the head first. Like that's about as bad as it gets. Like he really didn't do anything malicious looking there. So have they announced Matthew Knies like a timeline? Is he going to be back soon, or 5 hours ago, still being evaluated?
He's probably in kind of concussion protocol right now for them to see how he's doing. Yeah, as far as I've seen on everything, there's nothing confirming if he's totally fine, if he's injured, if he's out. So we'll kind of just have to wait and see what the deal is with that.
Yeah, hopefully he's all good. Hate to see, especially these young guys getting concussions built up early.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's everything we have for news here. You had one more thing for us, and then we're out of here.
Yeah. So this one, this for you, is very easy. All you gotta do is name teams. So you got 32 teams to pick from.
Oh boy.
We are going to be doing the best. What do we want to do here? We'll do the best. Actually, no. We'll do the best 10. We'll do the top 10 out of 32 teams. Pretty easy. We will be doing save percentage at 5-on-5. So what 10 teams have the best save percentage at 5-on-5 hockey?
This season, I would assume.
This season, yes. This season alone, yeah.
All right. Well, I already have a couple of teams that are jumping to mind, but we're going to take the easiest one, assuming that the Florida game didn't it for them. I'm going to go with the Winnipeg Jets.
The Winnipeg Jets are 7th.
Damn.
At a 92.92%.
Okay. Well, I'm surprised they're that low down. The Minnesota Wild.
The Minnesota Wild are 2nd. 93.86.
Yeah, they're very good. You know what? We're gonna go with the Tampa Bay Lightning. We've been very.
The Tampa Bay Lightning are 11th.
Oh.
They're just outside the top 10.
Damn, I thought for sure we'd be on there. We've had really good save percentage this year, and we got lit up by some penalty power plays early in the year.
They're not far out from number 10, but yeah, they just fell outside the top 10.
Yeah. We got to name some of the top teams, like the Hurricanes.
The Hurricanes are 15th.
Damn. Rangers?
Rangers are 6. 93.06.
We still haven't got number 1 even. The Panthers?
The Florida Panthers, 24. Yeah.
Wow.
24.
That's rough for them. Okay.
We've only got 3 so far in the top 10.
Apparently, the Leafs?
The Leafs are 3rd.
Leafs are 3rd.
They are 3rd, 93.58%.
Let's go the Golden Knights.
The Vegas Golden Knights, 23.
Yikes. All right, let's pick a defensive team. Let's go the Kings. The LA Kings.
The LA Kings, 14.
Good God. I don't know, man. The Predators.
The Nashville Predators, 22.
The Stars.
The Dallas Stars are on this list. And congratulations, you got number 9.
The Flames?
The Calgary Flames, 94.37, are number 1.
They are number 1. Okay.
They are number 1.
So I'm missing how many? 5?
You're missing number 4, number 5, 8, and 10. So you're still missing 4 teams.
I've said almost every team that's like in the playoffs. The Caps?
The Washington Capitals, 18.
Have I said the Devils?
You did not say the Devils, and they are 16.
So it's just a bunch of bad teams then. Who's got good goaltending lately? The Red Wings.
The Red Wings are 8.
There we go.
92.61. So it really just highlights how fucking bad they are offensively.
Let's go the Sharks. Mackenzie Blackwood.
The Sharks are 20th.
Jeez.
Still missing 3 teams.
I'm not saying the Avs. I'm not doing it, dude. I'm not.
Come on, say the Avs.
I'm not doing it for a goaltending category. You can't make me.
Just say the Avs. Just say the Avs.
The Utah Hockey Club.
Utah 17. Say the Avs.
All right,
just
the
say
Avs.
it. 32.
I knew it.
32. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I figure they probably were because I mean, yeesh.
Yeah, it's been bad for them.
I don't know, the Kraken? Bro, what teams have I not said yet?
The Kraken, 13.
The Stars? Have I said the Stars? Like, we're
You
just
did
gonna
say the
list
Stars.
every team.
They were 9.
The Blue Jackets?
The Blue Jackets, 26.
The Islanders? Do you want to just
The
give me the last
Islanders-
2 teams?
The Islanders are 5.
The Islanders are 5. I would not have guessed that.
93.2. You still got number 4 and number 10.
Like, I don't even know who I've said. Like, I doubt it's like the Sens. I think it might be.
27. Sens are not good, 5-on-5.
I've said like 27 teams or something at this point.
You have, yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
give them to me. Who's left?
Number 4,
I've gotten too many guesses here.
the Anaheim Ducks.
Oh, yeah, and that would have been one of the last guesses too. Like,
Number 10, just pushing Tampa Bay outside of the top 10. The Chicago Blackhawks.
wow.
Yeah, worst team in the league.
If I would have thought of
Getting
how
good
good
goaltending
Dostal's been,
5-on-5.
I might have guessed the Ducks a bit earlier.
I'm surprised you didn't guess the Ducks. I thought I didn't expect Chicago. But I was
Blackhawks
like,
might have been 32. They might have been the very last team I said.
I'm surprised you didn't guess Anaheim because of how good Dostal has been over this season
I forgot
so
about
far.
that.
Anyway, you did it. But yeah, Calgary Flames.
I was
number
at the start,
1,
I was
5-on-5.
I was like, fuck, I mean, I might as well just guess most of the teams in the playoffs, right? And then
Yeah,
I did that, and I had like 3 answers in 14 guesses.
Goaltending's been a bit of a it's a little all over the place so far to start this season. Like you look at I mean, Florida 23, Vegas 23, Nashville 22. Montreal was getting solid goaltending to start of the year. They're down to 31.
Yikes.
Boston is at 12. Despite how many goals they've allowed, they're still at 12. Like there's something to be said with that.
They're just a real good 5-on-5 team, even when they're playing bad. Like,
yeah.
But yeah,
well, you did it. You made it through. We made it through
there. We got through there eventually. There's been a couple of weird goaltending stats this year. Like there's a lot of guys like your Cam Talbots and your Gustafsons that are like way up there that, you know, people knew they were good, but like, you know, 12 games into the season, some of them are still sitting at a 927.
Yeah.
It's that's a good point actually. Who has the highest save percentage right now? Minimum 10 games. Anthony Stolarz is a 927, which, if you watched him play last year in Florida, you're probably not near as surprised as everyone else is.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been he's been huge for Toronto, especially with Wall going down to start the year. Like Stars might have just came in and just stole the job there. Top five
Yeah,
in save percentage. Stolarz one, tied for second. Gustafsson and Arvid Soderblom with Chicago. Dustin Wolf is 4, and Dostal is 5.
yeah. Like there's a lot of guys right up there. Like, and there's a couple of guys on not great teams, you know? Like Mackenzie Blackwood's got a 907 on the Sharks. Like that's pretty good in 13 games. Saros has a 916 over 16 games. Considering how bad that team's been, a 916 is freaking legendary.
Albert's got a 920 on a dog shit Detroit Red Wings team. The team, they trade away their best defenseman for nothing. Who's lighting it up.
It's looking rough for Detroit.
We're gonna be talking about Detroit next week, I think. Based on what it's looking like where they're gonna be. There's gonna be some stuff to talk about with them.
They are currently tied with the Canadiens in points. They have one less game played, but they're also on a 3-game losing streak compared to a 2-game win streak from the Canadiens. Like, it's wow. Sabres look like they're in a playoff spot here.
Currently.
Yeah. Good for them. Especially after that start to the year, everyone was like, man, Sabres, they can't do anything right.
Well, yeah, that's what we're talking about, right? We said they got to get it going. You can't start the off with too many losses. You gotta at least get off. You got to get back up to 500 and at least, keep yourself in the fight. And look at them, 9-9-1.
Yeah,
they're hanging right in there.
And you know what? So they have 19 points. They are tied in points with the Bruins. The Bruins have a minus 21 goal differential. The Sabres have a +1.
Yeah.
Like all the teams below them have a much worse goal differential. The Senators only have -1, but they're playing pretty good
only
hockey right now.
-4.
How's Columbus only -4?
Dude, Columbus is a wagon, man. I've been saying it for years how good they are.
No. Oh yeah, he's been beating that drum.
But because I always put when we always talk about stuff and things we're going to come back to, I did put it in my notes. The last thing we talked about at the end of October, before you left for your trip, was the New York Islanders and their problems of getting shut out. They have not gotten shut out since then, which was my goal for them, and they have not they've not gotten shut out since then. So they are finding some scoring consistency somewhat. But that does wrap up everything we have for this episode. Braden, do you have any final parting words for us today?
Not particularly. Who did the Blue Jackets? Right, they just got Jim Montgomery fired. Tampa's playing them tonight, so yeah. Hopefully they don't.
Hopefully they don't get John Cooper fired.
I was actually telling Kelsey, my wife, the other day that like as soon as I saw the Jim Montgomery news, I just had this moment of like, the entire time I've been intensely focusing on hockey, because like I've always kind of followed it, but like it was only, in the middle of the 2010s where I really started following it. I've never had to worry and be like, does my coach suck? Does he need to be fired? Or like I've never worried about it. Like that's just not even a thing that I think about because we've just had Cooper for like 13 years. Like it's gonna suck when he's gone, and the most we have to complain about is our freaking like defensive assistant coach. So it's gonna suck when we have to actually think about that.
What was it? That's what we'll end it on here. See if I can find it here. Might have gotten taken down, but I don't think so.
There's a lot of teams that are dropping, that are on losing streaks. Bruins 3 in a row losses, 3 losses in a row for the Sens, for the Red Wings. Like just like that, they all lose 3 in a row. The Canadians win 2. All of a sudden, they're all within 3 points.
Yeah.
It's real close over the Atlantic. Not quite as high point totals as people thought it might be, but I guess they got to take wins from each other somewhere.
Yeah. But that does wrap up everything we have for this episode. We do want to thank all of you once again for tuning in and listening to yet another episode of the Stick 'em Up podcast. We are back on our original schedules, Tuesdays and Fridays. Lots of hockey talk coming up next week. Lots of stuff to look forward to. There's obviously going to be lots more Four Nations face-off talk coming up once the rosters are finalized. I think they should be at some point in December or pretty close to. And as well, coming up in December, we do have the World Juniors, so we will be covering the World Juniors once again this year. Once we get a little bit closer up into, or once we have at least a little bit more news around there.
I was gonna say, I really have heard almost nothing on the World Juniors yet. I'm excited to see some of the lineups come out, and people were really high on this draft not too long ago, and then all of a sudden, a lot of people have cooled off on it. They haven't been producing as much, so it'll be interesting to see if there's kind of a spot open for like some guys who are borderline second round picks, middle of first round. Like they could really shoot up in the draft rankings.
Yeah, it's best time of the year for prospects to really showcase on the biggest stage what they got, and it's always just the funnest hockey tournament of the year by far. But we do want to thank everybody once again for tuning in. If you want to talk hockey, join on in the conversations. You can do so on any of our socials. They are down in the description of the episode, whatever podcast platform you're listening on. That's it. Braden, who's your one team this weekend to keep an eye on? Whether it's winning games, losing games, or potentially making a move. Who's your one team?
I mean, it's kind of tough not to say the Bruins. Just who knows what they're going to do with the
Bees.
What they're gonna do with a new head coach. Obviously, they've had him before, but yeah, like it just simply has to be the Bruins or the Predators. Like one of these teams has to pick it up.
Braden cannot be more excited to watch some good old Boston Bruins hockey. His favorite team, his pride and joy.
Well, yeah, because
everybody get out
shut
there
out by the Utah Hockey Club tonight.
Yeah, well, honestly, probably.
Vamelka's gonna go crazy.
Everybody get out there, watch some Bruins and Predators hockey before it gets even worse. Once again, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.